remember learning how to write?
I do. Our kindergarten teacher put different letters on the board and showed us how to make them, and she used strategic ways, like to put for P, the P was down into the water because it went past the line, or like the Q had a tail. Different little ways like that. She taught us how to write.
I remember writing my name, but only in cursive. My father said I had to turn my paper and hold it with my right hand. I'm left-handed. That was after preschool gingerbread men and before kindergarten duck, duck, goose. From then until about the end of high school, I wrote love letters to girls who didn't write back and stories for the comic strips I drew. After high school, I wrote rhymes and poetry that I don't like anymore. And when I began college, I wrote more poetry and some essays and short stories. Now I'm addicted to writing a novel that I won't publish because it sucks, and I think I have better novels somewhere in my imagination. What about reading?
I remember learning the alphabet, but I don't really remember learning how to string it together.
What about the ABC song? Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
I know you know it, but do you remember it?
I do remember it.
You remember that
I also
ABC
remember the cartoon that had the different, like Mr. A, Mr. A. You know, we learned different letters each day, and we also watched and learned letters from the Reading Rainbow.
And Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't recall learning to read. I swear I was grown the first time I sang the ABC song. I was a kid beatboxing like Buffy the Human Beatbox and reciting Run DMC's My Adidas, though I didn't have a pair until recently. I started reading sometime between birth and Saturday morning cartoons and Yo-MTV raps on weekday afternoons.
You remember the first book you ever read? It don't matter what kind of book. It could be a novel or something else.
The first book that I can recall reading was The Bernstein Bears Go to the Dentist.
You remember how the story went?
The kids were scared to go to the dentist, and then they went to the dentist, and it wasn't that bad. So it was basically a moral story teaching you that dentists aren't bad guys. They there to do a job to help you keep nice, clean, healthy teeth.
The first books I read were Clifford the Big Red Dog, a series of Fraggle Rock readers, Where the Wild Things Are, and a volume of Encyclopedia Brown books. My first novel was The Wishing Tree. I won the book in the 3rd grade. I watched Hooked on Phonics commercials and thought, who needs that to read? I can already read and I'm 5. They're idiots. I normally read when I had to, until I got some encyclopedias and children's fables. I read them all, cover to cover, dictionaries too. It took me a while because I read slowly. I concerned myself with the way the words come together. I still do. I read a little poetry. I like Saul Williams' poem, Said the Shotgun to the Head. I got anthologies of Langston Hughes, which I like, and Nikki Giovanni, which I don't. I can read Amiri Baraka's preface to a 20-volume suicide note over and over without getting tired of it. My interest in novel writing led me to novel reading. I'm compiling a list of books that I want to read. The last one I read was Don DeLillo's Falling Man. I've always had a knack for drawing. When I was 5, I sketched a large landscape painting on a little yellow sticky tab and surprised my mother. Other than that, I drew dinosaurs, comics, and monsters. I won a couple of art contests in high school with portraits of musicians and got burned out by the time I graduated. I don't draw anymore, except to show myself that I still can. Right about now, my creativity revolves mostly around the written word, reading and writing. I'm a literary conduit, a medium of poetry, rhymes, essays, short stories, and novels. I write to be read. I write to speak. I write hoping that others may speak, and maybe one day they'll write back.